What is your superpower? As an introvert, where you are showing up in this world in a place that is quiet, where might not say as much, maybe, if that's what we mean by an introvert. What is your superpower? Because in this society, we can look at being an introvert as, I'm just going to say it, this is just how the culture looks at it, as potentially a weaker position because the person who speaks the most is the one that most people listen to because they're speaking first. Therefore, they're perceived as knowing the most and being in charge, which is not always the case. But just because you're not speaking first does not mean that you do not have amazing powers. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what are those amazing powers? Why do you have them? And the question of the day, I'm going to be looking to the side when I'm going to press my buttons. The question of the day is, what is your superpower? That's what I want to know. So tell me in the comments, what is your introvert superpower? This is the first time I've gone live in a while, so I'm hoping the tech is working and I need to check and see if it's working. I don't have it all in line. It is working. Okay, so we're online, so I'm going to stop looking and start talking. And look, I've got somebody saying hi, so that means, hey, Marcus, thank you for saying hi and also confirming that you can see and hear me. Fantastic. Let's pull that. So, Marcus, what is your introvert superpower? Now, I'm going to go through many of them. Oops, that is not, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. There we go. I'm going to go through what I've put together as a list for the superpowers. And I want to start right before, I'm going to start that in like 2 seconds here, but I want to say first that these are the superpowers that introverts tend to have. They're not 100% every introvert's superpowers, but they are the superpowers that introverts tend to have. And that's why today's question is, this is me practicing my buttons, what is your introvert superpower? Good morning, Rebecca. Welcome, or good afternoon. Happy to have you here. So without further ado, what I do want to go, and tell me in the comments, what is your superpower? But I'm going to go through the 7 that I know, that I've seen. I've seen them in action, and we're going to talk about each and every one of them. But I'd love to know what yours is because these are not 100% all of them. But let's get started and you'll see where I'm headed. So the superpowers that I tend to see that introverts have are, first, they tend to be really good listeners. Hey, look at that. It worked. You're going to hear me say lots of comments about my tech because I'm just getting it up and running again. I haven't gone live in a while, and so I'm playing with it, and we're just making sure it's working. That's what's happening here. But it looks like that one's working. So introverts tend to be good listeners. Now, we know that introverts tend to be quiet. They're not all quiet. It depends on what situation. But in that tendency to be quiet, what are they doing? They're listening. And a superpower, let's go back and define, what is a superpower? A superpower is something you have done for so long that you've really honed that skill, that you're incredibly good at it simply because you've spent your life doing it. It becomes a superpower because you do it so well. So listening is a superpower that many introverts have because they've spent their life listening. Because when you're in amongst people not talking, it doesn't mean you're not there. You're listening. You're putting things together. You're absorbing and thinking about what is happening, but you're listening. And so you get really good at listening and thinking about, and just absorbing that. And one of the magic things about listening, especially when it comes to your business, is helping people feel heard. And when you listen, and it's clear when you reply that you've been listening, people learn to trust you more. And they when they feel heard, it gives them a positive feeling that you have left them with because you just listened to them. So listening is an incredible superpower that is way undervalued, or at least historically it's been undervalued. If you look at what people are looking for when they're trying to hire somebody who's a good communicator, which includes listening, is at the top of the scale. If you're not a good listener, you can't do anything else because you can't hear what's happening and what's going on. So it's really, really powerful to be a good listener. Hey, Cheryl, thanks so much for joining me. The question of the day is, what's your introvert superpower? So we just talked about listening, and I'm going to leave that up there as I add patience. Now, I personally, not a patient person, but I've learned to be patient. And patience is a learned skill. I do not think that anybody is inherently patient. It's something we learn. And when you've got introverts learning to be patient, what you've got is they're in a crowd of people. Introverts, from what I've heard in the conversations I've had, introverts will hang out on the edge, not participating in a conversation, waiting for a moment to step in. And so they patiently wait for a moment to step in. And if a superpower is something that you've done over and over to the point where you've honed it into a skill, being patient while you wait for the right timing is an incredible skill to have, especially in a world where we're trained not to be patient, because I want my tea and I want it now, and I want my food and I want it now, right? The microwave culture that we are in. So patience is a superpower. Let's add to that, and I'm just going to sum these up because I think that they make sense. Well, and Rebecca says she's naturally patient. Fantastic. See, so some people are naturally patient. I've learned patience. It's a skill, but if you're natural at it, then Rebecca, you're probably very, very patient. You've probably honed that as well. Introverts ask good questions. So I've noticed this in real life where, and here's an example. I am a coach. And so as a coach, I have been trained to ask good questions. And honestly, that came naturally because in my lifetime, I just ask a lot of questions. Ask anybody who knows me. I ask a lot of questions. And so because I ask a lot of questions, I've gotten really good at asking questions, asking quality questions. But when it comes to asking good questions, here's where this shows up. So I'm in a group of a bunch of coaches and we're all working on a problem. And the role is to, the job is to ask a good question to help nudge out and pull out what's going on. And so we're all asking questions. And you've got one person just sitting there listening because they're a good listener and they're patiently sitting through that, listening to us ask questions. And then they ask a question and it's like a pin drops because everyone's like, oh, out of all the questions that we're just doing as part of the conversation, that question was the one that needed to be asked. That question is powerful because they've been sitting there patiently listening and thinking about what's being said. And so they end up asking a really good question. That is a honed skill. And it's amazing. And as many questions as I've asked in my life, and they're often good questions. They're not 100% good questions. I don't think anybody asks 100% good questions. But to ask a good question doesn't just add to the conversation. It moves the whole thing forward in a really powerful way. And that is a superpower. There's a conversation going on about whether or not people are patient. Cheryl, some days yes, some days no. Marcus sometimes can be. Yeah, we could, it depends on what it is. I'm 100% with that. Sometimes we're just forced to wait. It's just the way it is. All right, so we've got good listener, patient, asking good questions. Number 4 is they're creative. So when it comes to being creative, what we mean is they think outside of the box. And that lines right up with they've been listening, not just in this conversation, but all of their lives, and they're patiently thinking about what the right question is to ask, and also thinking about what's being said and what's not being said. And that enables them to think outside the box. Okay, what's not being said? What's not being asked? When I hear this question, this question, this question, what does that mean? And it puts them in a position to be creative because they've got more data where other people are asking about it or talking about it, or there's just a conversation that's going on right now. They ask a good question that pushes things forward in a particular direction. So they're creative in terms of problem solving. They're creative in terms of just thinking about whatever we're talking about in a different way. I do suspect that a large let me say it this way. I want to say I do suspect that introverts are creative, but this is what I actually want to say. I know a lot of artists, and artists tend to be introverts. And I know a lot of introverts that are artists. Now, I know my little corner of the world. I don't know that that's the global world, and I have zero stats on this. But there is this creative outlet, and especially because a lot of introverts tend to need downtime that really rests and helps them recover their energy. That creative outlet often serves as that recovery opportunity. But even if that's not what we're talking about, even just talking about the benefit of the creativity of being an introvert, If you have an introvert working for you, or you're an introvert working for somebody, you're in a position to bring an out-of-the-box way of thinking to the table that, again, is going to move that all forward or help them think in a different way, help them solve problems. When it comes to working with clients, help them feel like they're being supported in a way that they need, giving them a second brain to help think alongside them. That creativity can be incredibly powerful in your business and in your marketing. When it comes to creativity in your marketing, if you're thinking things differently, you're going to show up in a different way in a place where there's a lot of white noise and it's really easy to just blend into the background. We want you to step out and be seen and be heard, and that creativity can serve you in that way. And I know there's some trigger words in there: be seen, be heard. Introverts, if you want to promote your business and have your business, have people buy from you, you're going to have to promote it in a way where your business, if not you, is being seen and being heard, and your creativity will serve you in this way. Okay, so that's the 4. Number 5 is that they think before they speak. And this really leads back to, like I said, somebody asked a good question and you could hear a pin drop because everyone's like, oh, that was the right question. It's the same thing with they think before they speak. Here's a specific example. I am a verbal processor. As I talk, I am putting ideas together. And I sometimes don't know what I'm thinking until I say it. I also want to put aside here and say I'm an ambivert, so I'm halfway between introvert and extrovert with a very strong introverted side. I am more of a, when it comes to, a thinking person, very much a verbal processor. But this ability to think, put your ideas together, and make sure that they're cohesively figured out, and then say, and put it out there, can be incredibly powerful. An incredibly powerful experience for the people listening to you. And especially if you've been listening, being patient while you've been thinking and maybe asking a few good questions and being put in a position to be creative about what's going on, and you put all that in your head and then you speak, it's incredibly powerful. And so when it comes to marketing your business, it comes off as very planful and very intentional, which it is. And it can help the person you're working with feel safe, or it can help the people that you are talking to in a marketing stance understand better, because you can get your thoughts into a more cohesive place. So Marcus says, I am more speaking first, I have regrets later. With you on that. And Cheryl, be seen and heard, you like to hide. A lot of introverts like to hide. We like to be number 2, where we don't want to be in the spotlight. And some of that is mindset, some of that is habit, some of that is preference, whole other conversation that we need to have. But when it comes to marketing your business, at least your business needs to be seen and heard. Whether or not you are the voice of it and what way are you the voice of it, that's a conversation we can have as well. But the point is that when you do put your message out, whether it's written or verbal, if you tend to think before you speak, you're going to be more intentional, and it's going to be more accurately stated. And that is power, and that is a superpower. Because of all of that, and I've dropped this word already, they tend to be more planful. I was like, which button do I press? They tend to be more planful. Because of all of this, there's a lot of thinking and intentional positive strategizing going on so that you can hit the mark faster. And I hear this when I'm working with people who are introverts and they're holding off on marketing themselves because they want to be more planful, because they want to be more intentional, because they want to make sure they do it right. And you have a lot of skills at hand to help you do those things. I will say, as much as these are incredible superpowers, you can be too planful. You can be too reserved. You can wait too long to speak, right? Everything has a balance. Every superhero has a weakness. And so it's important that we shore up those weaknesses as we lean into our strengths. And so I put these out there for you to lean into your strengths more fully. And so I want to bring up number 7 that encompasses all of these strengths that I've listed and that are on the screen here. Number 7 is when an introvert speaks, it matters. That is powerful. And that is also something that introverts are known for. right? Because you're not speaking all the time. You're not speaking everything out there unless you're either me or Marcus. You're gonna be really intentional about what you say because you're doing all of these things, and that makes for very powerful statements and conversations. One of the things I love about introverts and this side of my personality, my introverted side, is we don't tend to like small talk because it's not going anywhere, because it's just kind of, they're just circling around and it's not doing anything. But when we can get deeper, we can even take that small talk and go deeper with it and apply it to something deeper and heavier, and I dare say more important, it can be an incredibly powerful conversation that changes lives, that changes perspectives, that changes mindset, that shifts ideas around and moves us forward. Because when you speak, it matters, and you make an impression and you make an impact that changes everything. Those are the superpowers that I'm seeing and that I've seen in the introverts that I work with, in the membership and one-on-one, in the introverts I talk to. And I would love to know, oops, look at that. What is your superpower? That landed perfectly on the screen. I'm very happy about that. What is your superpower? Tell me in the comments. Let me know, because everyone has their own superpower. I'm gonna pull these off the screen here really quick, and I'm going to say one more thing. And I love that Cheryl's here for this. The thing to know about introverts, even as we talk about, sorry, I'm just making sure I got all the right buttons. The thing that we know about introverts is that every single one is unique. This week, I did a video on the 4 types of introverts, but it's really a mix and match of these different types of behaviors and ideas. And the thing to keep in mind is that you are your own unique introvert. And so what is it that makes you unique? And I bring up Cheryl because there's introvert, there's ambivert, there's extrovert, there's a Cheryl-vert, there's a Rebecca-vert, right? You are your own unique introvert. And when you say, I'm this way as an introvert, that doesn't mean that every other introvert is that way. And it's just your version of being an introvert. And I invite you to lean into that and just explore your way of being an introvert, because it's going to help you more than reading a list of how introverts are. Is to be like, how am I as an introvert, is incredibly powerful and can help you make better strides in your music, I was playing with music earlier. It's in my mind, in your marketing, in your business, in your life, by being clear about who you are and what you need and how you show up and what works for you. And it can help you make better decisions. So use all of the information I've been talking about today and in the previous videos, and there's one more coming up on next week, that, all this information, when you pull it together, you pull it together in your unique way. And now you've got you as an introvert. And that is going to help you make better decisions than anything else you can look at regarding what introversion means. All right, my friends, that is it for now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the chat. I love it. If you want to know a little bit more about your marketing as an introvert, grab the Introverts Tactical Guide to Digital Marketing at susancz.com/tactical. Grab that, and it will offer you the 5 ways that introverts are really, really good at marketing themselves. So it's something that if you're thinking about marketing your business, this will get you started as to how you're thinking. If you're already marketing your business, but you're struggling, this will create some clarity. So grab that. I'll be putting the chat in the comments a little bit later, unless somebody wants to put it in there for me. All right, my friends, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I don't know my live schedule yet, but I'll be here again, and I'll be here a lot more often in the near future. I'll be seeing you then soon. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks so much for being here.